these chains will never break, but they don't know you like we do.
Hi, and welcome to Empowered Voices, where we cultivate inner strength, resilience, and holistic well-being, guided by gentleness, self-control, and unwavering faith. I'm Tanjika, and I'm so grateful that you're here as we step into this new chapter together. And today with me, I also have Victoria and Twanda. I want to first start by acknowledging our pause. You may have noticed that Empowered Voices went quiet for a season. The pause wasn't about giving up. It was about listening. I felt the weight of providing priceless information to a limited audience while also feeling the pressure of to keep up with showing up live week after week, day after day, month after month, just to give the people what they wanted. But deep down, I knew I needed to be transparent and still in alignment with the purpose and the vision that Empowered Voices was founded on. I wanted to create something that wasn't just for the people who could attend live, but also make a blueprint, something lasting, accessible, and life-giving for anyone who needed it whenever they needed it. I want to give people what they want because I hear their hunger for encouragement, for the tools, for clarity. But I also want to recognize what they need. And that's where my calling comes in. I've been given gifts, both professional and spiritual, and I've walked through life lessons and experiences that I now see as a privilege, not as a burden. Those lessons have shaped me, they have refined me, and prepared me to serve. For far too long, I felt like I was moving through the days in a fog, just going through the motions, riding the regular waves that life throws at us day after day, night after night, week after week, and month after month. I'm choosing a different wave today, and that wave is what I was purposed for. And my mission is to help others find the same wave and authenticity, to live from their own rhythm, to embrace the experiences that make them who they are today. Because when they ride the wave of purpose, we don't just survive, we thrive.
That's right.
And in thriving, we create ripples that strengthen everyone around us. And so here's what I learned recently from the pause. And I will also invite Victoria and Twanda to actually also give some insight of what they have learned from this pause. But what I learned from the pause is that pause is not a weakness. It's wisdom. Pause gives us space to breathe. It gives us space to actually listen, and it gives us space to realign ourselves. Reflection gives the opportunity to listen to the quiet. So in reflection, when we took this pause, reflection was something like this. How did this help me? What does it do for me when I actually reflect on what I've been doing, where I'm going, and what is needed? In the quiet, we see what was working, what wasn't, and what our spirit is truly asking for and is telling us. And so now we are re-emerging. When we return after the pause, after the reflection, we re-emerge. And when we return, we don't come back the same.
No.
We come back stronger. We come back more intentional, and we come back for more ready to explore heights that we didn't think we could explore. Just like the excerpt in the Bible says, that God will give you and do exceedingly abundantly above what you could ever ask or imagine. And as we come back and we reemerge, we are ready for that exceedingly abundantly above what we can ever ask or imagine or even think. And so today, I just want to reflect on the pause, and also to ask my panelists to join me in reflection and telling me, what did the pause mean to you? I'm actually going to start off with Twanda today and ask her, what did this pause and reflection mean to you, and how has this reemerging come about for you?
When we paused, it made me not want to react so much. It made me, think about things. And, pausing for, when we paused for Empowered Voices, it actually made us reevaluate some things. It makes us come out and do the things that we need to do. I'm glad that we paused for Empowered Voices, because now we can do better than what we did before. We can prevent things from happening. We cannot prevent them, but we can keep them in mind, that the things that we did then we don't have to do anymore. You know, we don't have to sit there and say, we don't have to sit and think that we are in control, because sometimes we are not in control. God is in control. So when we have to take on responsibilities quickly when we pause. That's what it means for me. It means giving advice before fully understanding.
And so that's good. That's good. Giving advice before fully understanding. Victoria, I know that, your journey with this pause was a little different because, on the inside of everything, you actually also were with me when this whole idea first emerged. And so, and then Twanda, you shortly came in afterwards, which was definitely an added blessing. And so I want to know, understanding from the beginning of what this pause, when we first started, and then when this pause came about, how did that, what reflection did you have, first of all, and what did that pause mean to you? I know it had to, and I want to be, transparent and honest, because sometimes those pauses when you're in the beginning can sometimes be a little bit scary of understanding, where are we going, or and what is happening here.
Right.
So if you could just reflect on that.
Sure, absolutely. Well, welcome back, Empowered Voice. It's really good to be here. I'm so excited to really jump back into this in a new wave, in a new space, through podcasts and things like that. I think we've learned so much in the last 2 years. When we first started this, we had this idea of community building. We didn't really know what that looked like in the moment, but we knew that we wanted to be available to, in the beginning, just even the people that we knew in our immediate circles, church families and things like that. And we wanted to connect in that way. And then as we kept talking and as we kept going in and diving in, we realized, okay, well, this is not just for us. This needs to echo. This needs to be, brought about in a different way. So let's start inviting more people. Let's start inviting. And then we realized that, we was taking off running. And the problem with momentum sometimes, and we've talked about this in Empowered Voices and things like that, the problem with momentum sometimes is that, you feel like you have to outperform in order to grow and to show this type of growth, right? And so what we've had to learn in this pause is that just because we pause, it didn't erase the identity. It didn't erase the motive. It didn't erase the mission that Empowered Voices was on. And we had to not shrink to fit in a space that we were comfortable, we had to get a little uncomfortable. And a part of being uncomfortable means, routines change, things shift. We're not doing it every week. We're not on the live. We're not, you know what I mean? Because sometimes we was running on autopilot. How many times have we thought about, just saying, I'm not even here. I'm just here because I'm here. You know what I mean? Like so many times. And I think that autopilot kills vision sometimes. And so that's basically, what I taken from it from the beginning into now. Very excited about this new space because some of us might call it a delay hindsight, but spiritually it's direction and where we're taking this podcast and how many people we're going to reach and how many people are going to benefit from the information that we're giving here. Okay. So I think that, we give ourselves a chance to rewrite how the story sounds moving forward. And that is so powerful. So if you're in a transition, if you're in a space where I'm like, I just don't know, like if I continue on autopilot, if I continue to do the transition, if I'm supposed to be here, let me tell you something, because a lot of times we get distracted in thinking that we're not fulfilling our purpose. I want to remind every single person listening to this podcast today, your purpose is yours already. You've already been given permission to have your purpose. You've already been given permission to do the things that God has put in your space and God wants you to do. So the fact that you think that performance equals purpose, that's not always it, right? It's not always in the grind. Sometimes, like you said, to go back to what we've been talking about, we have to listen. We have to reevaluate. We have to see where people are. We are in this world to evolve. Nothing stays the same. 50 years ago, it's not what it was now. And I know it worked then, but it may not work now. And so it's about that authenticity that we remain in while we're in the pause, because it allows us to catch up to the movement that we're trying to create right now.
So good. And and the authenticity is truly where we need to be with our own voices. And that's the reason for Empowered Voices, to allow others to understand themselves while navigating through this life, that people want you to look and be and act like them. And when you look at yourself and you realize I'm different, and being in that space and actually owning that space for who you are and who God has called you to be is so important, because when we were made in his image and likeness, he made each of us different to fulfill a different purpose. There's more than 8 billion, I don't know, maybe 9 now, billion people on this earth. And we all are purpose for something different. My purpose may look similar to yours, but there's something that I was specifically made for that other people don't have. And I want everyone today to pause and ask themselves, what is it that I do that does not create any type of stress, any type of feeling that I'm working? And when you find that, then you realize who you are and your purpose. And a couple questions that I want us to just kind of reflect on today, you as the audience as well, is think about the last time you paused. Was it by choice or by circumstance? Because
true.
It could be by choice, but it could also be by circumstance. And I can tell you that I could share a personal experience when it was by choice, which was just this recent pause that we had with Empowered Voices. But there was a time 2 years ago, 2.5 years ago, that it was by circumstance. And that was when I found myself trying to keep my husband alive after he fell in front of my eyes and had a massive heart attack. I then had to actually pause by circumstance.
Right.
We were in the everyday hustle and bustle. And that pause truly allowed me to recognize the boundaries that I had not set.
Come on.
So I want to ensure you that these circumstances, when you have them, those lessons in life, they may seem very detrimental, and they may seem catastrophic at the moment. But remember the pause that and what it came out of that pause. And so that's the next question is, what did the pause reveal to you about your own rhythm? And that revealed to me that I had not set boundaries where boundaries were needed. And how might you reemerge from it more clarity, more gentleness, and more strength? And in that pause of the time where circumstance outweighed the choice, the clarity came that boundaries were absolutely necessary in order for me to continue to strive and thrive and be present in the moments that of every day, not just going through the motions and realizing that, after I go through the motion, oh my goodness, I actually passed up that store and didn't realize I already passed that store up.
Yep. Oh man.
Those rhythms that we sometimes take, we have to learn to be intentional.
Yes.
We have to learn to stop and allow our brains, our mind to actually catch up with what our body and our motion and our movements are doing.
I wanted to kind of piggyback off of some of the things that you were just saying, because it's so true. And to going back to that specific time, I remember the hustle and bustle that you physically were going through day in and day out. And like, this was even before other stuff happened too, right? So like, this was like the beginning of something, and then you got you got tried again in another area of your life, you know what I mean? And I'll you'll go into that at another time, but I wanted to kind of bring it back and say that the external factors sometimes can seem chaotic, and I think we find this resistance in growing under chaos, right? And because you want to shut down, especially when you're an overthinker or you're a person that is constantly on the go, you want to shut down, you want to break down. And I love that you said setting boundaries was one of the things that you got out of it initially, because that's not everybody's story, right? Unfortunately, there are certain things that happen, catastrophic things that you've said, and we don't know where to turn. And we don't know what to do. But I think the choices that we make are so important in that moment. And so it's like, again, like I've said this before earlier, it's not about shrinking or shifting too much. It's about pausing, reflecting, what parts of me are non-negotiable, what parts of me are in alignment with who God made me to be, and then that represents his image, because you've talked about his image.
Mhm.
We are represented in his
Yes,
image, right? So
yes.
it's not the bad stuff, y'all. I'm not telling you to
Yes.
go take these things that we've learned in the carnality world and start applying them, you know, and this is who I'm going to be and nobody can change me, because, you know, that type of attitude can put so many pauses on other things, right? That we're supposed to be walking into. But in alignment with who God made you to be, represents his image. And one thing that I learned, and it came down to something very simple: God is love. Right? And a lot of the times we think love is an external thing. We think love is something that we show and we prove outwardly. And a lot of times we forget to love ourselves, and we forget to love internally. And when we shift that narrative and we start to love internally, then we give ourselves the peace that comes in the chaos.
Yes.
Then that chaos, the chaos and the external stuff doesn't even matter, because you know who you are. You're grounded in your identity, and it's a beautiful moment to have when the world is. I mean, think about Jesus. He was in a boat. Come on, we could talk about that story. You know, in the boat, the storm is going off and everything is moving all over the place, and he's like, "Where's your what I'm sleeping."
Yeah, what's going on?
What's going on?
Yeah,
I'm sleeping. I'm not worried about that.
You know, I just wanted to say something, because when you were talking about chaos, it just dawned on me that, you know, and even just thinking about everything that I was saying about that moment when I had to realize that I needed boundaries. The chaos brought clarity. The chaos brought clarity. So many times we're trying to get out of the chaos, and we're trying to, Lord, just take this away. But you know, if we endure it, we will find clarity in the end.
Absolutely.
And so I just, you know, that's very profound, that understanding that chaos brings clarity.
That's good.
Yeah, it's like when, you know, you plant a seed, the seed grows in darkness.
It does.
It grows in darkness, not in the light.
Right.
It grows in the darkness.
Right.
And in order for the seed to grow, it has to have the darkness.
It does.
Because that's where it's fertilized.
It germinates in the
So
darkness.
think about us and how we are,
Right.
you know, in darkness. And our darkest moments, or what we feel is our darkest moments, the light is what brings us to the surface.
Come on, that's good.
The light is what brings us to the surface and realization. As you were saying, reflection, reflecting on that, reemerging. So now that seed not only reemerges from the darkness, but it reemerges as a sprout, as a plant, as another seed.
Because sometimes God speaks in pause, not in noise.
Yeah.
So
you can't hear noise.
It gives us the pauses where we get wisdom.
Yes.
From we get discernment growth. We get peace. We get peace stability, stabilizers.
Yes.
You know, we get faith. We get faith anchors.
Right.
That's what pause does. That's what pause has done for me, because you know, even in the reading the books and doing the things that we did before, you know, it gave us a lot of insight. You know, it gave us a lot of changed our mindsets a lot. But in this, it's learning to teach us how to what are we pausing and why are we pausing?
Right.
What is the reason God told us to pause?
Yes.
God told us to pause for a reason, so we can get more discernment, you know, more understanding, more wisdom in everything that we do.
Yes. So as we enter into this new season of Empowered Voices, I want to say that our pause was much needed. Our pause was, what we needed to reflect, reemerge, regroup, restructure.
Yeah, for sure.
And as I want to say, when you honor your pauses, we don't just heal ourselves, but we strengthen our families.
Yes.
We strengthen our teams.
Yes.
We strengthen our communities.
Yes.
We strengthen everyone who is around us.
Mm-hmm.
And that's how we move closer to a world where every voice is heard, where every heart is strengthened, where every person lives into their full potential and authenticity. So, in closing for this podcast, but not closing forever, I want to say to you all, thank you for joining us for this reintroduction. I want to just tell you that this is the beginning of a new season where we will explore inner strength. We will talk about resilience. We'll talk about holistic well-being. We'll talk about the living of the ripples of our lives, going against the waves, not with the waves, and understanding that chaos brings clarity, but we will also discuss how to be more compassionate. Until next time, we love you and we say thank you all for joining. If this has blessed you or touched you in any way, please like, subscribe, and invite others to come and join this journey with us here on Empowered Voices.